Don't let the headlines fool you. The recession isn't coming. It's already here. It's just not on Wall Street. It's in your kitchen, your savings, your health. While they brag about record stock prices, over 65% of Americans over 55 say they've cut meals just to pay bills. Credit card debt just passed $1.13 trillion, the highest in U.S. history. And over half of all seniors carry a balance month to month. You're not imagining things. This economy is suffocating the people who built it. You're working longer, retiring later, eating less, paying more, and watching the country you sacrificed for get gutted. One bill, one grocery trip, one emergency at a time. And still, they have the audacity to say, everything's fine. This isn't a downturn, it's a betrayal. And today, we're going to count down the 10 brutal signs that prove beyond a doubt. America is already in a hidden recession. And the worst part is, they're getting you used to it. Number 10, the savings account extinction. How your hard-earned money is being stolen in slow motion. Let me start with one of the most disturbing trends nobody talks about. The quiet disappearance of real savings in America. And I'm not talking about investing or 401ks or stocks. I'm talking about the basic old-school habit of putting money in a savings account and letting it grow. That used to be normal. That used to be smart. That used to be how American families built security. But in 2025, savings accounts have become a trap, and most people don't even see it happening. Right now, the average savings account pays 0.47% interest, while inflation quietly eats away your money at 5 to 8% in real terms, depending on where you live. That means every $1,000 you save actually becomes worth less every single month. You lose money by saving money. Wrap your head around that. Meanwhile, the banks take your deposits, your life's work, your rainy day fund, your emergency cushion, and turn around and lend that same money out at 21 to 29% on credit cards, 11% on car loans, and 8% on personal loans. They profit off your savings while you get crumbs. And if you try to withdraw more than a few $1,000s at once, many banks now interrogate you, file suspicious activity reports, delay your funds for verification, or pressure you into keeping it in. Some branches don't even carry enough cash on hand because they don't expect customers to actually use their money. It's your money, and they act like you're stealing it. Meanwhile, Americans over 55, who remember when savings accounts paid 5%, 8%, even 12% interest, are getting robbed blind. You followed the rules. You saved. You built discipline. And now, the entire system is designed to punish savers and reward debtors. This is not an accident. This is policy. Because a population with no savings is a population that stays desperate, dependent, silent, and easy to control. The recession isn't just hitting the poor. It's hitting the responsible. It's hitting the disciplined. It's hitting the people who did everything right. And it's hitting them hardest. Your money is evaporating, and the banks are getting rich off the steam. Number 9, the Great Transportation Breakdown. When America can't afford to move anymore. Let me tell you something nobody running for office wants to admit. America is becoming a country where the average person can't afford to drive. And when a nation this big can't afford transportation, that's not a recession. That's a collapse in progress. Gas prices are the obvious part. We all see it. But the real story, the hidden story, it's the explosion in vehicle maintenance, registration fees, insurance premiums, and car repairs that is quietly eliminating mobility for millions of Americans, especially older adults on fixed incomes. As of 2025, the average car insurance policy costs 38% more than it did just 2 years ago. Some states like Florida, Nevada, and Colorado have seen increases over 50%, even for drivers with perfect records. Deductibles are going up, payouts are going down, and if you make a single claim, your premium jumps like you committed a felony. Then there's auto repair. Thanks to corporate consolidation, supply chain manipulation, and parts monopolies, the average repair now costs $500 to $200, even for basic jobs like brakes or sensors. One cracked headlight housing can cost $900 on new cars. Mechanics aren't gouging people. They're being gouged by manufacturers who intentionally design vehicles to require expensive proprietary parts. And the dealerships? They're sitting on inventory so bloated, some lots are renting farmland because they're out of space. But even with the supply sky high, cars aren't selling because people have no money left. The used car market has collapsed, not because prices are low, but because nobody has cash. Older Americans who once prided themselves on owning a reliable truck or a paid-off sedan are now giving up vehicles altogether. Rural seniors are becoming trapped. Suburban families are going down to one car. Some are ditching insurance and praying they don't get pulled over. For the first time in modern history, mobility is becoming a luxury. And when people can't drive, they can't work. They can't shop. They can't visit family. They can't escape danger. And a country where people can't move stops moving altogether. That's not a healthy economy. That's a nation freezing in place. Number 8, the collapse of the middle-class diet, when real food becomes a rich man's privilege. Let's talk about something darker, something more dangerous than rising grocery bills or shrinkflation. I'm talking about the complete collapse of what used to be the normal American diet. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Real food is becoming a luxury product. Right. Now in 2025, fresh produce prices have risen so sharply that the average family is buying 40% less fruit and vegetables than they did in 2019. Meat consumption among middle-class households has fallen to a 30-year low, and older Americans, especially those living alone, are skipping meals, stretching canned soup across multiple days, microwaving frozen dinners, and calling it good enough. Not because they want to, because they have no choice. A pack of chicken thighs? $12. A pound of 80/20 ground beef? $9. A head of lettuce? $4.49. Meanwhile, junk food, chips, soda, sugary cereals, ultra-processed garbage stays cheap. Why? Because it's subsidized, because it's profitable, because it keeps you sick. You notice the pattern? Healthy food is becoming unaffordable, while unhealthy food is becoming unavoidable. And it's not accidental. Big food companies are quietly reformulating products with cheaper ingredients, more fillers, less protein, and more seed oils, while still raising prices. People aren't just eating worse, they're being forced to eat worse. And the consequences? They're catastrophic. Diabetes is up, heart disease is up, senior malnutrition is skyrocketing. Yes, malnutrition in America. A recent USDA report estimated that 1 in 5 adults over 65 is now food insecure, the highest rate ever recorded. Families aren't buying groceries weekly anymore. Some go once a month and pray it lasts. Others ration fruits like they're luxury goods. And don't even get me started on restaurants. A diner breakfast, 2 eggs, bacon, toast, coffee, is now $19 to $23 in many states. People over 60 grew up paying $2.99 for the same meal. Now it's more expensive than some utility bills. This isn't just inflation. This is nutritional inequality. A nation where the working class survives on carbs and chemicals, while the wealthy eat pasture-raised meat and organic produce. When a society can no longer feed itself healthy food, that society is already collapsing. And that's where we are. Number 7, the utility crisis, when water, power, and heat become luxury items. They don't want you talking about this, Mal, but there's a second economy emerging right under our noses, and it's not digital. It's not crypto. It's not AI. It's utilities. The stuff you have to buy just to stay alive, and they've turned it into a silent, unregulated cash grab. Let's start with electricity. In 2025, utility companies in the US posted record profits, even as blackouts became more frequent and bills skyrocketed. PG&E, Con Ed, Duke Energy. These giants jacked up residential rates by 23% to 38% in the last 24 months, citing grid upgrades. But ask around. Where are the upgrades? The poles are still sagging. Power lines are still sparking wildfires in California. Transformers still blow if it drizzles. And while you're paying $400 a month to keep the lights on, they're sending billion-dollar dividend checks to Wall Street. Want heat? Natural gas prices are up 42% since 2021. Water? In places like Arizona and Nevada, tiered billing is making it cost more to shower than to eat. And if you think it's just a cost of living thing, think again. Private equity firms are buying up utility companies across the country, turning public necessity into private profit. In some cities, water utilities have become subscription-based. That's right. Just like Netflix. If you go over your allotted gallons, you pay penalty fees. And who decides the cap? Not you, not voters, investors. Even garbage collection is being weaponized. Variable waste pricing is hitting families with monthly trash bills as high as $95. And if you're a senior on a fixed income, tough luck. You either freeze in winter, boil in summer, or go into debt to survive. This isn't a utility system. It's a racket, and the government is in on it. They pretend to regulate, but they let monopolies bleed you dry in exchange for lobbyist donations. You're paying triple the price for half the service, and it's only getting worse. At this point, basic survival has become a subscription service, and every month they raise the price. You're not paranoid, you're being robbed, and they're cutting the power while they do it. Number 6, the job market. Lie, millions working, nobody winning. Here's a phrase you've heard 1,000 times this year. Unemployment is low. But let me tell you the truth, no one's saying out loud. Unemployment is low because everyone is working 2 or 3 jobs just to not drown. This isn't recovery. This is financial servitude in a trench coat. You know how many Americans are working full-time and still living paycheck to paycheck? Nearly 62%, according to Lending Club's latest 2025 data. And that includes households making up to $100,000 a year. Why? Because the jobs being created are low-wage, no-benefit, dead-end gigs that leave people exhausted, uninsured, and on edge. They call it the service economy. I call it the surrender economy. It's Uber, DoorDash, Amazon warehouse night shifts, customer service for apps that crash every week. It's 58-year-olds bagging groceries at 5 a.m. and 65-year-olds stocking shelves at Dollar Tree with bad backs and no retirement plan. And here's the kicker. Many of these new jobs, they're not even new. They're replacements for full-time positions that were split into multiple part-time roles so companies can dodge healthcare, pensions, and paid leave. It's all sleight of hand. You fire a full-time worker with a $60K salary and benefits, then hire 3 part-time workers at 16-hour with no protections. Voila. Employment numbers look great, but nobody can afford to live. Want to know what else is quietly exploding? Disability claims, because people are pushing their bodies to the limit in warehouses, hospitals, kitchens, and factories, and then falling apart. The Social Security disability insurance backlog is the worst it's been in 15 years, because so many broken workers are flooding the system. Meanwhile, big corporations post billion-dollar profits, buy back their own stock, and automate every task they can to kill more jobs. The result? A labor force that's maxed out, fed up, and going nowhere. You're not imagining it. The job market isn't recovering. It's metastasizing into something unrecognizable. They're selling you numbers while stealing your time, your health, and your dignity. We're not building anything anymore. We're surviving, and survival is not success. It's collapse, dressed up as progress. Number 5, the rise of the medical credit score. Your health is now a loan application. If you thought a bad credit score was just about missing a credit card payment, buckle up. Because in 2025, there's a new monster in town, the medical credit score. And it's already destroying lives in silence. Hospitals are now using predictive scoring systems to determine whether you're financially reliable before they even admit you. Let that sink in. You show up in pain, needing care, and before a doctor sees you, an algorithm checks your income, zip code, and past payment history. If your score is too low, you may be denied non-emergency procedures, required to pay up front, or redirected to cheaper alternatives. Some hospitals won't even run labs unless they think you'll pay. This is happening right now, and nobody's talking about it. How did this start? Private data brokers, the same scumbags that created shadow profiles for credit card companies, started selling patient risk profiles to healthcare systems. Now your financial footprint follows you into the ER. And if you don't have health insurance, good luck. According to the Commonwealth Fund, 43% of uninsured Americans report delaying or skipping care in 2025 due to cost. You can't afford to be sick anymore, but it gets worse. If you do get treated and can't pay the bill in full, your file is immediately handed over to medical debt collectors. some of whom are now using AI bots to harass you 24/7 via text and robocall. And this debt? It sticks. Even though the big three credit bureaus claimed they'd stop reporting small medical collections, loopholes still allow large balances in lawsuits to wreck your financial life. Over 100 million Americans now carry some form of medical debt, and it's not just from trauma care. It's from routine stuff: dental cleanings, eye exams, physical therapy, x-rays. In some cases, even calling an ambulance puts you $1,500 in the hole, or more. So here's the raw truth. In modern America, your access to medical care is now being filtered through a spreadsheet. And if you're poor, disabled, or retired, you're statistically less likely to get the same treatment as someone with a better financial profile. This isn't healthcare. It's a credit scam in scrubs. And if we don't stop it now, dying broke won't be a tragedy. It'll be the plan. Number 4, the silent collapse of small-town America. You want to see what a real recession looks like? Don't look at Wall Street. Look at Main Street, or at least what's left of it, because small towns across America aren't just hurting, they're dying, one by one, and nobody's sounding the alarm. According to the 2025 Brookings Economic Index, over 38% of U.S. counties have experienced a net population decline since 2020, and the town's being drained? They're not drug-ridden hellholes like the media wants you to believe. They're working class, patriotic, blue-collar communities, the kind of places where the American dream used to live. Places with family-run diners, barber shops, hardware stores, and VFW halls. Gone, shuttered, boarded up. The local tax base collapses. Then the schools close, the post office reduces hours, the grocery store pulls out, and then you're left with Dollar General, payday lenders, and a half-staffed gas station that charges $6.49 a gallon for 87 octane. It's not just economic decay, it's deliberate abandonment. These towns didn't fail because people stopped working hard. They failed because big box retail cannibalized the customer base, Walmart and Amazon wiped out local business, and then automation stole the remaining jobs. And now you've got kids moving to cities they can't afford just to take on service jobs that won't cover rent. No one's talking about it because it's not glamorous. It's not TikTok-worthy. But you go to Ohio, West Virginia, Arkansas, Mississippi, even parts of upstate New York, and you'll see the skeleton of a country that once prided itself on independence. You'll see an 80-year-old man mowing the lawn of a church that hasn't held a service in 2 years. You'll see empty lots where factories used to buzz 24/7, and the few businesses that remain, they're charging whatever they want because they've got no competition. A bag of dog food costs $38, a gallon of milk is over $7, and you better hope your truck doesn't break down because the nearest mechanic is 35 miles away and booked out 3 weeks. This isn't just rural poverty. This is the slow deletion of middle America. And the political class doesn't care, because there's no profit in rescuing forgotten towns. Only profit in consolidating power into cities where they can tax, surveil, and control every last move you make. You're not crazy for feeling abandoned. You were. Number 3, the boomerang generation, when the kids come home broke. Forever. You know what's harder than retiring in 2025? Trying to retire when your adult children just move back into your house permanently. Welcome to the boomerang generation, the side effect of a hidden recession that no one wants to talk about because it's too close to home. You raised your kids, you did your job, maybe even paid off the mortgage, and now suddenly your 32-year-old son is back in his childhood bedroom because he can't afford rent. And he's not alone. A Pew Research study released this summer showed that 52% of Americans aged 25 to 34 now live with their parents, the highest number since the Great Depression. This isn't a young people are lazy problem. This is an economy that's cooked from the inside out. Entry-level jobs pay $17 an hour, while rent for a one-bedroom averages over $1,800 a month nationwide. Student loans are back with a vengeance. The pause is over. Interest is compounding. And even people working 2 jobs are barely covering interest. And the worst part? These young adults aren't buying homes, starting families, or building wealth. They're stuck, frozen in place, bleeding their parents dry just to survive. Because now you're not only paying for your own rising food, gas, and medical costs, you're feeding another mouth. You're using more electricity. Your water bill doubled, and you can't even sell the house and downsize because where are your kids going to go? You're trapped, and the government knows it. Because this dynamic creates dependent generations. People too burdened by debt and inflation to challenge the system. Too beaten down to vote, organize, or escape. It's strategic. Keep one generation too sick and tired to retire, and the other too broke to launch. And you control both. So now we've got 60-year-olds canceling travel plans, delaying surgery, and working overtime so their kids don't end up living in their cars. We've got 3 generations packed into single-family homes. Not because it's cozy, but because corporate America hollowed out the middle class and called it progress. And guess who profits? BlackRock, Vanguard, landlords, credit card companies. Everyone except the American family. This isn't just a social trend. It's the collapse of the generational ladder, and it's happening in your living room. Number 2, the vanishing retirement, America's greatest promise, broken in broad daylight. You did everything right, and still lost. That's the story of retirement in 2025. You saved, you worked, you delayed gratification, you paid off the house, and you thought, finally, you'd get a few good years to breathe, maybe travel, spoil the grandkids, have some peace. But that dream, it's gone. And not because of bad luck, because the system was engineered to fail you at the finish line. Let me lay it out for you. The average 401k balance at retirement is now $87,000 according to Vanguard's latest report. That sounds like a lot, until you realize that with today's cost of living, that's barely enough to cover 3 years of basic expenses for a modest single retiree. God help you if you're married, rent, or get sick. Add to that the reality that Social Security is on the brink, with official warnings from the SSA saying the trust fund could be insolvent by 2034. What happens then? Benefits get cut by 23%. Try adjusting your already tight budget for that. And what about pensions? Only 13% of American workers now have access to a defined benefit pension. And many of those are underfunded and vulnerable to collapse, especially for former public sector workers in places like Illinois and Kentucky. Then there's inflation. The so-called COLA increases in Social Security are based on the CPIW, a broken metric that doesn't even track how much seniors actually spend on healthcare, housing, or food. So your checks are going up 2 to 3% per year, while your bills are rising 10-20%. You're falling behind every month, and they're calling that support. Let me be blunt. Retirement in America is now a fairy tale, and the government knows it. They just won't say it out loud. Why? Because they need you to keep working, keep spending, keep consuming, keep hoping things get better. But they won't. Not until we stop pretending that this is temporary. It's not. This is the new model, a slow, quiet betrayal of the generation that built this country. And it's happening with a smile, a slogan, and a monthly deposit that can't even cover the electric bill. Number 1, the normalization of crisis. How they're training you to live in collapse. Let me hit you with the hardest truth of all, the one that cuts through every chart, every talking point, every denial on CNBC or Capitol Hill. The real recession isn't just economic, it's psychological. They're not just taking your money, they're breaking your ability to tell what's normal and what's not. That's the end game, because once you stop noticing how bad things have gotten, you stop fighting back. This is the most dangerous phase of any collapse, not when people panic, but when they go numb. Look around. The grocery store shelves are half-stocked, and nobody even raises an eyebrow anymore. Fast food combo meals are $18, and people still line up. Rent is half your paycheck, but we just say, that's the market. Go outside. The roads are crumbling. The schools are underfunded. The police take hours to respond, but they'll tow your car in 15 minutes if you're late on registration. And everyone just accepts it, because this recession isn't loud, it's slow, it's silent. It's in the dead mall where the air conditioning doesn't work. It's in the 24-hour pharmacies that now close at 6. It's in the dozens of help wanted signs you see, and the people who apply and never get called. It's the parents skipping meals so their kid can eat. the senior citizen refilling one prescription a month instead of 3. This is collapse by 1,000 inconveniences, 1,000 humiliations, and every one of them is being normalized. News anchors smile through it. Politicians blame the other party. Corporations quietly cut sizes, hours, staff, and services while posting record profits and dare you to notice. And the cruelest part? They've convinced you this is your fault. That if you're struggling, it's because you didn't budget right, didn't work hard enough, didn't plan well. That's the con. They're making you feel ashamed for drowning in a flood they created. This isn't just a hidden recession. It's a psychological operation to train you to accept less, expect less, live with less, and still smile about it. But you're not crazy, you're not lazy, and you're sure as hell not alone. This is not how a healthy nation treats its people. This is managed decline. And it ends when people finally say, no more. So, if you've made it this far and your gut is telling you something's wrong, you're not alone. And you're not crazy. What we're living through right now isn't a blip. It's not just the economy doing its thing. This is a coordinated economic reset. And regular Americans like you are footing the bill. You're working more and keeping less. You're saving harder and losing faster. You're being told to be grateful while getting priced out of food, rent, fuel, and even electricity. Meanwhile, the people who broke the system, they're richer than ever. And here's the part they hope you never realize. They need you tired, they need you broke, and they need you too distracted to fight back. Because the moment you stop blaming yourself for the chaos around you, the moment you stop believing their lies, is the moment their illusion falls apart. This isn't just a hidden recession. This is the financial dismantling of the American middle class. And if we don't speak up now, if we don't wake each other up, then the next generation will inherit nothing but debt, fear, and control. Stay sharp, stay angry. And most of all, don't ever let them convince you this is normal. Because once we accept collapse as the new baseline, that's when they've won.